This is the Empower Podcast, released May 5th, 2019. Episode 441. Motivational Speaker.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
Or realityinstruments.com.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into. We'll
get into that. I'm more of I'm a refugee and a survivor of KaiCon. How about that?
Yeah, let's talk about it. I'm sure
I made it, man. I made it.
Yep. You made it. You came out the other side. Are you like...
I'm still digging, man. I'm still digging my way out. I think as we record this, I've only edited 2 out of the God knows how many shows that we'll put out from that 440 point
right.
whatever. We've had 2 shows so far. I think there's enough to do at least, like, if I do 2 per show, I think there'll be like 5 or 6 total episods. I'll probably just smush them all together at the end.
Okay.
So,
yep.
Yeah, lots of...
So you just sat down with various attendees and...
Yeah, so Alvaro, who's from the Reverse Engineering podcast, who had shown me how to do it. He did this at Tour Camp. So I was out at Tour Camp recording. He was also doing that, but he had the H6, which is a little recorder, and he actually has 4 microphones plugged into it. So you just see him like standing around.
I saw that.
Yeah, exactly. And like,
did he have it attached to his backpack or something? Or?
Yeah, he just turns his backpack around, puts it in there, kind of sits there, and he can tweak the dials, and then everybody's standing around holding microphones. It's a great little setup.
Yeah.
So
that's
really
that's
like
pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's nice. It's nice to get like. It rejects sound outside decently well. You'll still get some background sound, but it's good. It's like kind of like from the floor, quote unquote, and it's great to get people's perspective. It's like super simple to do stuff. So thanks to Alvaro, and Peter also helped with recording, and then all the great guests too. So it was a lot of fun. I didn't do much recording because I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, but I had It was a blast. The whole weekend was a blast.
There's an art in recording stuff on the road, either video or audio.
as we know,
getting it down pat. There is an art to that. You're much more into it than I am because you're going to all these shows and things.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And either you're running them yourself or you're going to them. Mm-hmm. And it's where you, as you said, like getting good audio on like a show floor and stuff like that. That's when you don't want your omnidirectional, even with a lapel microphone, right? If you've got a lapel mic, you might think, oh, that's great. Yeah, it is, but most of them are omni. You can actually get the cardioid ones.
Right, and those are the shapes of like where it picks up sound.
The shapes of where, and those ones you want to put on your shirt and point towards your mouth, and then it sort of rejects the floor noise and stuff like that. Or you get a handheld one, and they're a cardioid pattern. So, but you know all about that.
Yep, definitely. It was good to be able to get some. I think just simplicity is the main thing there. And but the crazy thing is like that stuff. It's heavy. It's real heavy. like actual like copper cables and like
but when you got those
microphones.
bloody XLR things,
exactly.
you got those handheld mics with real XLR cables. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But the weekend the biggest snafu of the weekend was that I lost my wallet for about 8 hours.
You lost right, it turned up.
Yeah, it turned up. It turns out I just like locked it in a room, and then someone walks up to me and they're like, "Hey, Chris, did you mean to leave your wallet in that room?" I'm like, "Nope, sure didn't." So,
excellent.
Yeah. Other than that, I was that was like a good distraction from the actual stress stuff, and otherwise it was great.
Right. So you knew your wallet was gone during the show, and you were busy concentrating on the show as well as trying to figure out where your wallet was.
Yeah, exactly. The biggest stress there was like I was like, I've got about 200 nerds who want to drink beer later, and I have to pay for it, and the card that enables that is in the wallet. So better find it, or else I'm going to have some trouble.
Hang on. So you were shouting for a couple of hundred people?
Yeah, I mean it was part of the fee. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Right. Okay. So you took money, and of course you did.
Yeah.
Right. No, yeah, it was a paid event.
It was a paid event. Yep. Yeah, it was $99.
Okay.
Some people like speakers went free, and volunteers paid and then got their money back when they volunteered, stuff like that.
Got it.
But it pretty low. there was some pushback, like from one person on the forum, at least pushback about they're like, well, $99 is too expensive, and I was like, look, I know that's not attainable for everyone,
No, of
but
course.
like, like a percentage of like how much your travel would be in comparison to that is not much, and I think in terms of conferences, like I've been to some conferences where it's like, oh, $3,200 admission fee, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a speaker. That ticket is. That's, and you know.
Do you know how much it is to go to a TED talk?
No, how much?
10 grand.
Holy moly!
Yeah, to go to a TED talk. Chris Anderson, former guest on the show, he actually tweeted this
not
out.
Not the one who actually runs TED. That's pretty confusing.
No. The other Chris Anderson. Sorry,
right. DIY drones, formerly DIY drones of Future Robotics.
He's great on Twitter to follow. There's lots of stuff he comes out with. He doesn't. He's not afraid to speak his mind, which is great.
Right. Yep.
I love it. And and he said, "Oh, look, I used to go every year, but it's it's 10 grand, and it's just become a wank fest, really."
Yeah,
just like, and I had no idea that you had to pay so much money to go to this thing.
That's crazy.
Because it's basically, it's not just, you don't just turn up for a day to the TED Talks. It's like a week-long thing and like camp. It's almost like a camp thing, and you like one of those bonding. So I think he compared it. I think he put out a poll. Is it like a Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins,
like
motivational thing, and it's
Matt Foley?
Young
man, let me tell you something. I live in a van down by the river.
And let's walk on some hot coals, and
right.
rah rah, and all that sort of stuff. So apparently that's what it is.
Oh,
I had
interesting.
no idea. And then I researched
a lot of
it, and
networking
sure enough,
type stuff, right?
It's networking. The whole idea is that you spend all your time networking with people, and they give the presenters. Sorry about the tangent here, but
no, it's okay.
It's appropriate. And they give the speakers actually information packs on how to actually network and talk with the attendees and stuff like that.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like,
I'm sure the experience for someone who's like up and coming, it's like really, really powerful, because you probably get good connections, and then you get like speaking gigs later, like corporate events, stuff like that. It's probably very, very good for a speaker's career, for sure.
Yeah, something like that. But I thought it was just a thing that you just either paid a nominal fee or just turned up for free to, and it's like, no, it's a...
I think the TEDx talks are like that. I think
the TEDx talks, because they're an independent thing, but the actual TED, the real McCoy TED ones, that's a world unto itself. Yeah.
Yeah,
I had no idea. Anyway, thank you,
Chris. Past guest Simone Yacht, she's been on. I think her and Chris might be the two that we've had on this show that were there. Did Chris give one?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't recall, but he's been
Simone.
to them.
Simone's number one.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
There you
That's
go.
Great.
So, it just reminded me of that. So, did your endeavor, did it make money? I mean, obviously you don't want to lose money, right? Did it lose?
No, I actually when I pulled the trigger on selling tickets and like announcing the tickets were sold, I was certain that I was going to break even based on all the analysis I did, and I did. So I broke even.
Okay, cool.
And actually a little bit more that I was able to give some to, I'm going to be giving some to the KiCad project too. So that was nice. That was another goal. And we were able to do that. Yep.
Right. So, that's
terrific. I had talked to GNU Radio, so Derek Kozel, who's been on the show before. Derek is one of the leads for that project, and he had said that they're like a slightly larger, it's like a slightly more like Analog Devices is like a big sponsor, that kind of thing. And they actually have like a higher paid conference where like professionals are paying money to go there, that kind of thing, because of the training. And it looks like a great conference too if people ever look. It's like an SDR conference, so software defined radio. It's all GNU Radio, and that's like I think $1,200, $1,500. It's in like Henderson, Nevada every year, but that's actually a fundraiser as well for the GNU Radio project. So which I think is a great way to do it. So maybe we'll work towards that eventually, but.
Yep.
I like that it was, accessible by a lot of people.
Cool.
So, yeah.
No, I don't. Yeah, the $99 thing is like, especially when you got limited seats. It's not like a trade show where you could essentially have unlimited number of people come through, come through, which, these are dedicated talks in a dedicated facility, I think it's quite reasonable. I think $99 is cheap as.
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
we say here.
the only real bad thing throughout the weekend is that some guy tried to lob a grenade. Was that the wording? Someone tried to lob a grenade into the into the proceedings. Is that what you said, Dave, on Twitter?
Lob a grenade?
Didn't you say
No?
that on Twitter? Like I'm going to lob a grenade. You made a
it
video
wasn't me.
about KiCad.
Oh!
Yeah, you did say
okay,
that.
right.
I'm pretty sure you did.
Yes, I did. I said something along those lines. Yes,
Yeah.
I just shared my video with you just in case
Right.
you hadn't seen it, because I
Right,
knew the
right.
conference was on and going at the time I made that video. So
Right.
yep.
Well, why
Do
don't
we
we
wanna
talk about it?
segue
Why don't we
into
talk
that,
about
do we?
your yeah.
All right.
Oh, here we go. I'll throw this KiCad grenade into KiCon 2019. There we go.
And I had no idea we had talked about it like 6 years ago or something, 7 years
Right.
ago or something.
Well, why don't you explain what you're talking about
We've
here
talked
first?
about everything on this show. Right. Well, my PCB, my video, if you haven't seen it, which we'll link in down below, is KiCad Wars. And this started out on the forum, I think. So I originally posted this on the forum. Then I thought, I'll just make a video because I knew the conference was going on. So it'll promote some discussion. Anyway, I made 2 predictions in regards to KiCad. And is everyone calling it KiCad now?
Nope.
Or are there a lot of holdouts?
There's a lot of holdouts. I'd say it was about.
Right, okay.
I'd say like 75-25. So I'm still an
Right.
underdog, but I'm not too worried.
Okay, got it. Right, you're fighting, are you? You're going to fight to the death.
Yeah, exactly. Stubborn
You
and all the
will
wrong.
pry KiCad from my cold
Yeah,
dead hands or something.
right.
KiCad from my cold dead
This
hands.
is the hill I will die on. So a lot of people like to make fun of me this weekend. They're like, is it DigiKai
Right.
or is it DigiKey?
Yep. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, so I have 2 predictions. Geez, if I can remember them now. What was the first one? Bloody hell. I'm not in a proper mental state at the moment.
That's okay. I think, well, the one that we were talking, the other one I think was about
Sorry. Yeah.
the sponsor maybe?
The sponsor? Huh?
The sponsor of Wayne, the project lead.
Oh, yeah, no, that's the second. That's the second.
Got it.
Second thing. Right. The first prediction is that, paraphrasing, is that KiCad will. It's getting pretty good now. That it will ultimately displace, I think, any other
that's
free
right.
tool. It's basically the free tool out there. And it'll displace the other low cost ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think there will be KiCad and there will be high end in the not too distant future. I think it'll displace the Eagles, the Dip Tracers, the Circuit Maker, Circuit Studio from Altium. Although that's a bit of a tough one. Circuit Studio is still about $1,000, and it's it is high, it does some other stuff. So maybe not that one, but all the low end ones, I think KiCad's going to sweep them all up. Like I don't see the point in paying for a subscription to Eagle when KiCad's as good as it is now. I'm just not seeing it, and I think that's not going to get any better for Eagle. A lot of people have been debating that point with the Fusion 360 integration in Eagle, and fair enough. They could still, it's not just going like these products aren't just going to vanish. But
Yeah, I don't think
I'm
so
saying
either.
Eagle's been the de facto standard low end for a long time now, just because the open source hardware movement started using that. And that's where it actually grew from, where all support actually grew from. But I think KiCad's going to take over that if it hasn't already. I don't know where you'd get metrics on that. You just basically get warm fuzzies looking at what open source projects are being released in the community and stuff like that, and which package did they use.
Right, I think that's a good proxy
Whereas
at least.
5 years ago, it was Eagle everything, right?
I agree.
And now it's like, no, I think it's going to change. Anyway, so that was prediction number 1. And prediction number 2, had to do with your tweet. That's what spurred it on, was that you tweeted that Wayne, sorry, I forget his last name.
Standby.
He's the head, I guess you'd call him the head lead developer?
He's the project lead.
He's the project lead. Okay. He's the project lead for KiCad, is now working on it full time, right? That's his full-time job now.
Right.
And who's paying for that?
So
What
that's
was
WIT.
this company that was up on the slide?
Yeah.
Who is WIT?
Wit is like a new. It's kind of confusing still, but it was
Right.
it started by the guy that helped found DigitalOcean, which is actually what we use to like host our theamphour.com, and I use it for all
They're
my
a
site.
host. They're
Yeah.
a web host.
That's right,
Right.
right. And so
Yep.
he was a co-founder of that, and then he's basically funding this new startup, and they're talking about doing kind of like the full stack, top to bottom, so software, um, all the hardware and everything being open as well. So they want to do a completely open stack, which is really interesting. And so he's also
So
he's
what?
funding it,
What
yeah.
an open stack of what EDA tools? Like what?
No, I think
is it a
actually like
software company?
creating a
What-
server like all the way. So basically, kind of the idea of like I think it's kind of like a really extreme view of like you don't truly own your data until you own everything in the path, right? And like the closer you get to that ideal, that the more open or the more ownership you have of your data. So data being
Yeah.
a consequence of the hardware and the software that it lives on. And so
Right.
as far as I understand it, again, this is just me from the
So
little I
you're-
talked to the guy there.
Yeah.
It'd be like, you'd basically have to, if you want to do everything, you'd have to make an open source server. You'd have to make an open source, you have to design it with open
I
source
was going to
tools.
say as in a processor server web farm server thing, just like Google make their own servers, I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe Facebook as well
Yeah,
make their
exactly.
own server hardware. Wow. Okay. Right. So that's their focus, and they're going to use KiCad to do that. Is that and that's why they're investing in KiCad?
That's as
Is
far as
that-
I understand is that, yes, that's right. So basically, in order to make it a completely open,
So they
completely
own
open
the
thing.
design tool that. So they own the design tool. Well, they don't own it, but it's open source, right? So
Right,
they,
exactly.
So they have control over the EDA design tools that manufacture their own custom servers, which then run their own, I presume, web OS. Like server OS, and so no, you can use Linux, of course. That's
Right,
open.
exactly, and then
So
like
you can use
Apache's
Linux.
open, and like
And
so a
right.
lot of the software stack is already
Right.
pretty. It's not. I guess
of
it is.
course,
It's
very
pretty open all the
open,
way
yeah.
top and down, right? And so
I think it is. I think yeah.
So I think some of
Right.
it's
Oh,
from a
that's
privacy
interesting. Okay.
standpoint, and some of it's from just a FOSS, free open source software and hardware kind of.
Right.
I wouldn't say zealotry, but just like a interest in that complete tool chain being open.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So
it is. Yeah.
Wayne works. Does he still work for CERN, or did he work for CERN? Or
He never did. No, he
what's
was
the
actually
deal?
he's an electrical engineer. So he was working for a small
Right, okay.
industrial hardware company in Virginia, and he was able to
Or
just kind
was.
of do. He was right. Yeah. Now
Yeah.
he's doing this on the side, or he was doing this kind of on the side.
So
and
does he
now-
work for Wix, or is he an independent contractor and he works and Wix are just pay him? How does that work, or is he an employee of the new startup? Sorry, I need to know the details.
Yeah. So he's an employee of the new startup, but it's actually
It
not
could be
Wix.
important.
Wix is the software, or
Right.
sorry, is the website hosting company that does like those simple starter
Yep.
pages. This is WIT, WIT.
This is Wit. Sorry, Wit.
Yeah.
I was saying Wix.
I think that's
Wix.
actually I made the same mistake at the beginning actually. I was like Wix, like
Right.
the people who advertise to make like a website.
Annoying pop-up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Website. Yeah.
So no, it's slightly different.
Right. So he's an employee of Wit
Yeah.
now,
Yep.
whose full-time job is to develop KiCad, or is
That's
to
right.
project manage and co-develop KiCad.
Yeah, exactly.
Because as I've said many times in the past, it needs to come down to one person driving this thing. You can't have. It's not going to work. KiCad's never going to work long term if you've got 10 people pulling in different directions.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
agree.
not.
I agree. No, and that's
you
true.
know,
And
yeah.
so Wayne took over around the time when CERN was getting involved, and he's done really great. He's super driven and he's super fun to hang out with, and like he's got a good vision. So I posted the
Cool.
talk he did. He did like a recap talk, and then and then we did a panel. Instead of him taking questions, I just had all the developers go on stage. All the developers took questions together, and that was really good to get kind of like a view
Got it.
of like who everybody is, and it's crazy. And so we obviously released. We also I interviewed them when I was there too, and they're all double E's. That's what's great about it. So like they are all kind of thinking
Excellent.
about stuff from the perspective of double E. It's not like I think a lot of people who work at CAD software companies, even for-profit companies, a lot of them have electronics backgrounds. You and I know a bunch of them too, and so that's good. I think that's the good first step. I think it's then understanding how the users kind of are using it broadly and kind of broad strokes across the community. And I think they're getting good at that stuff too.
Well, excellent. So that leads on to my second prediction.
Yeah.
After we've clarified who Wayne is and what's happening.
Yep.
Excellent. Is that, because I had no idea about that. I just threw this out there without knowing any of the details at all.
I mean, I was talking to someone, I was like, this is just kind of what Dave does. I think he just wanted to talk about this stuff. And it's like, it was kind of reminiscent of like being on the forum. It's like, oh, I wonder if it's this. I wonder if it's that. It's like kind of that kind of same thing.
Yeah.
And so,
of course. It's what I do.
Exactly.
Whether it's popular or not, it's what I do. And so my second prediction is that straight off the bat, my second prediction is that ultimately, I have no time frame for this, but somebody will decide to commercialize, in quote marks, KiCad, just like the way Red Hat have sort of, commercialized, again in quote marks, Linux, right? They've got they charge for professional services and all that sort of stuff, even though you can get it for free if you want.
Yeah.
But they're found a way to make a multi-billion-dollar business.
Right. Yeah, they just sold to Microsoft for what, like $30 billion or something, $35 billion.
$30 billion. Yeah, crazy amount of money. Yeah. And I predict, even though it's a much smaller market, don't want to compare them, much more niche, but I think that's ultimately going to happen if there's money involved. Some entrepreneur will decide either like an individual entrepreneur who wants to do a startup or something like that, or it'll be a large company who decide, we're going to commercialize KiCad. And of course, a lot of people said, they can't do that, but they can.
Yeah,
right.
You totally can.
Of course, if they develop it, there's nothing, and I don't want to stop it, and it should not be frowned upon, right? It should only be encouraged. So I only want to encourage people to do that, right? As long as they follow the license agreement and they give back, right? If they make any changes, they obviously give back to the community so everyone can build.
Right,
and
exactly.
So I think that's ultimately, I can see that happening. That's my second prediction.
Yeah. Right, I could see it happening. I was listening to your video, and I was like, "This sounds real familiar, Dave."
Right? Yeah, I had no idea. What did we talk? I didn't go back and listen to the previous episode. What did we say last time? Did you listen?
So the whole reason I remembered the whole thing that triggered my memory about it is like I remember you were saying Red Hat, and I remember you and I made a joke about calling it either tinfoil hat or lead hat. I do not remember that at all. That was the joke I've usually got making. A good long-term memory. I do not remember that. Yeah. I always remember a bad joke, Dave. I always remember a bad joke.
Okay. And what was that, 6 years ago or something?
Yeah, episode 188. We'll link that in too.
Right. So I just had the same idea back then, and I just threw that into the discussion, did I?
Technically, I had the idea, but
okay.
You know what? I'll say we had the idea. How about that?
Okay.
Because we were discussing it. Honestly.
Yeah, of course. And when you discuss it, it seems kind of obvious that it might eventually happen.
Right. I think the parallel is definitely there with like open source tools. And I think, so I actually saw an interesting comment about this where I think it was maybe it was a Hackaday comment or on a video, but someone was talking about my company switched over completely to KiCad, and then they kind of went through like the hours it took to do all the stuff and like the library stuff it takes. And that's it's all the manpower stuff
of course.
like redoing libraries, redoing this, redoing that. And it's like that's when it gets really expensive. And so I think the services thing definitely, you want to make sure that someone's there and that the software isn't going to break or anything like that. I'm not sure the complexity is high enough. Like maybe as the software continues to get more complex as well. I mean, you think about like a Linux system, especially spread across an enterprise type of thing. So like some hotel chain wants to use, what was it called? It was called Fedora. And they're like, well, we should really pay for Red Hat and get the service contract too, because there's a lot of money that could be lost. I think there is money that could be lost in the PCB space, but probably, the people that are likely to take it on are going to be smaller time businesses at the beginning. Now, if it does indeed keep growing, like you're predicting too, like then if say Tesla switched over for some reason, right?
Right.
Or SpaceX or someone like that.
NASA or anyone, a big player.
Right, exactly. Then you start to have licenses, you start to have, maybe 100 people using it concurrently, and you're trying to like do tools between the two. It's like, yeah, you might want to pay just so you don't have to have someone internal then. And that in that case, it might make a lot of sense. So.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, you've seen a lot of the industry, so you know what it's like, and you know what it's like dealing with current EDA software too. So it's
it's and the high price ones aren't any better in terms of support necessarily.
No, in fact,
it's like
in fact, I can tell you. I think I mentioned this a week or two ago, but I have a little bit of a rant here. OrCAD. I installed OrCAD to look at like the files more in depth. First off, I didn't know the difference between OrCAD and Allegro, and like what the hell. Did you know what the difference is?
Not really. I forget. It's a long time. Like
apparently they're not that different. I think like one's actually I still don't actually quite know, but it's a real stupid thing. It's all real dumb.
Right.
The tool is actually like obviously very full featured. But god damn, did it ruin my computer. Like I went to go make a video about using revision control, and like I was like halfway through a video, and I'm like going to like push some changes to a repository, and it's like, no, I don't know what this is. You don't have access to this repository. I'm like, okay, that's weird. Did I mess something up? And I tried it again. Make another video halfway through. I don't know what this is. You don't have permission to this repository.
Wow.
And then I realized like three tries later, I realized that OrCAD has completely screwed every single environmental variable on my Windows machine, and I'm gonna have to just clean install my computer basically at this point. It's just like it's such a hot mess.
Can you go back to a previous revision of Windows? Like Windows has a go back to previous.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, it does. I don't know what it's called, but it has that.
It has like a save point almost.
It has a save point or something. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah,
you might be able to do that.
That's a good point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some sort of rollback feature or something. Yeah.
If any cadence engineers are out there, though, not a fan. That's not good.
Yeah.
Don't do that to my computer. Man, that was... I mean, granted, it's like some of it's dealing with Windows, but like, god damn it, that just ruined everything.
It shouldn't. I'm installing I'm always installing and uninstalling hundreds of programs, and Windows handles it just fine. So for something to do that, that's just...
Right. I think it's always bad when you see something like trying to like, I'm going to install this in the C drive. It's like when a program's doing that in 2019, it's like just installing it at like the root level, like
at C/OrCAD or
/ Cadence. Yeah, exactly. It's like bad. That is you're going to have a bad time.
Yep.
So, so I found that out.
Wow! Ouch! That's nasty.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah.
But I haven't had any time to think about it, honestly. So.
Right.
I'm fine.
Right. So you don't disagree that you think it's certainly possible. Certainly not an unrealistic thing. Because as I said in my video, if people don't know, the PCB market or the PCB ECAD market, I got a figure from 2012, and back then it was $500 million market.
Yeah.
And that's just PCB level. That doesn't include like ASIC design tools and simulation and stuff like that. That's just, that's just PCB tools plus maybe, signal integrity analysis tools, board level stuff and things like that. But that's a big market. It's probably $1 billion in the current market. And Altium's current market worth is like $3 billion. Altium's are technically, on the share market, their shares are valued at $3 billion.
Yeah, but that's like also like
and Altium's looking at they
stuff,
make like 100. Yeah, their sales are like 120 million a year or something. But their price to earnings ratio is so high now because they're paying so many dividends that it's just insane. But there's big money involved here. I can't help but think some entrepreneur is going to come along and go, hey, if I take 1% of that market, that's a viable business,
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it would be a hard fight. I don't think anyone's going to give that up easy. The interesting thing, maybe we talked about it on here at one point, but like it was the idea, and I talked about some people, I talked about it with some people this weekend, was kind of like the idea of like KiCad as a GCC, kind of like as a similarity to GCC, where it's like if it does become...
In what way?
well, like, okay, GCC was kind of like oh yeah, okay, you and your toys at the beginning, right? But eventually it was like when you have industry
of course.
buy-in,
And everyone
right?
uses it. Microchip used the GCC compiler.
Right, exactly.
It integrates with the,
Right.
everyone uses it.
And I think it
Yeah.
like it being kind of like I don't think it's a very good comparison, but it's an
I think it's not bad. I think it's pretty good. Yeah.
yeah, and I guess the thing that would be to your kind of prediction too would be like, well, if it does move that way, okay, cool, but then you'd have a lot of companies doing their own thing. There'd be like a lot of ad hoc standards at that point, and it's like, okay, basically there'd be people that would be sussing out what actually needs to be done, and I think that's where another market opportunity is. So like, okay, like company A that wants to do it like this, company B wants to do it like that. There's going to be like reputation on who does things better, that kind of thing. And then like tool chains around
Open
around
Office
that base.
versus LibreOffice and
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I don't think I think it's a good prediction. It's just a matter of how big, how much it has to
when
grow
and
in the
how
market.
and how big. Yeah. I think the odds are I would bet that it'll ultimately happen in some form. And as we've mentioned many times on here, like most of the time, this open source thing is, people don't care, right?
Right,
People
right.
don't, they're not going to compile their own version. This was my main complaint, like a couple of years back when I first looked at started looking at KiCad, and I went, geez, what, you can't even download, there's no central repository for even downloading a Windows executable. It's on some guy's personal website. Give me a break. I'm not going to touch that. Right? It's that's a joke, right? I'm not going to muck around with that sort of garbage, right?
Right. It's
People
like making
want
it more
to
like
have
a
professional.
centralized. Yep.
They want a centralized thing. They want the confidence that look, this is the build. Here it is. Like just download. They don't want to build anything. Nobody. 99.999% of people will never ever look at the source code, compile it. It's the same with open source hardware. Most people don't care. They will never load up the CAD files. They'll never, do anything like that. They'll never. All they want is the finished product.
Right.
Right.
And if it doesn't compete in the market at the right price, then it's never actually gonna take off.
And it gives you a warm fuzzy that it's open source. That's great. Everyone gets a free warm fuzzy and a pat on the back. But most people don't. They ultimately just want a tool that looks professional and works.
Right. Well, and I think that's a good point though too. I think like the open source hardware, usually the bigger impacts is because if and when it's open, that then it grows an ecosystem around it, and then you start to hear about it more because like, oh well, this thing works with Arduino, or this thing works with BeagleBone or whatever, right? And it's like, and then people are building other things around it, and you hear about it more because of that, and ultimately that drives, there's always it's like you're talking about, it's like a confidence game almost, right? Of like, well, can I get the software on a reputable looking server? Can I get some tools around it? Do I hear about people using it? If you have all those things together, then same thing,
Bingo.
hardware and software. Yeah.
Yep.
Then
this is why I think KiCad has reached critical mass, just like this year and basically in the last few months, especially with KeyCon, right? We don't see EagleCon. Right, there's no
they
EagleCon,
could do one, but they haven't done that yet.
Exactly right. There's KeyCon, and there's major, huge players that almost everyone buys from DigiKey, right? At least something, and they're hearing about DigiKey are back in it, and they're releasing the full libraries and all that sort of stuff. It is snowballed, and that's why I think it's inevitable. It becomes the industry de facto standard. Tool, like low-end tool.
I think you're a little too close to it, Dave. I think you're a little too close to it.
What?
Because you talk to me every week,
Yeah, maybe. I've
been whispering in your ear for 9 years about this thing, man.
Yeah, I know, but still,
I think you're still right. I'm very optimistic.
Yeah. No, it's just there's more projects. There's just like a massive talk. Sure, I mean, I'm getting it because I follow certain people on Twitter, and I'm talking to you every second week or whatever.
Yeah.
It makes a difference, right? But still, I think it's there.
Yeah,
definitely. I can look past that and see that it's it's happening.
Yeah, so, that's great.
Yeah. Anyway, where there's money, they will come. I think.
Yeah, businesses. building businesses.
Yep.
Some people build businesses in like 6 hours, man.
Yes, you did. Tell us all about this. You
Well, I built
literally
a brand in like 6 hours.
you built a brand in 6 hours, and you've released products in 6 hours. Like,
the products have been around for a much longer.
right? Yes.
But I had been one of my first contracts working out of as a consultant. I was working for Valve, which people may know as a company that we've heard of
company.
a lot on here.
See, I had literally never heard of Valve until Jerry Ellsworth joined.
Right.
I had no idea that even existed. Like, that's
I'd
how
known
far
about them
removed
from,
I am
like,
from the gaming industry.
Yeah, I just knew them because all my friends would play like Counter-Strike, but that was the main thing.
Okay,
But then
so,
like Jerry and Alan Yates and Ben Krasnow and Jeff Kaiser and Eric Van Wyk and I think that's all the guests we've had who have worked at Valve.
Yep.
Anyways,
do any of them work at it? I think Alan's the only one left, isn't he? Is Alan the only one
Eric's
left?
also there. Yeah, so Eric
okay.
and Alan.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, so I started doing some contracting for them a while back, and then they decided not to keep going with it, and then they said, "Hey, you can release these designs and push them out to the world." And so today, May 1st, when we're recording this, the Valve Index went on pre-sale, and this thing was designed for the Valve Index. And
if people don't know, the Valve Index is a VR headset.
Yeah. Yep, that's right. And so basically, I'm pushing these designs out into the world. I'll probably be doing a run of some hardware. Basically, it's like some add-on hardware for the Valve Index, and I was really excited about it because it was like meant to be for researchers. So like people who are trying to put sensors onto VR headsets like that are not already in there. So you might want to put like a LiDAR sensor or something on there, basically making it easy to do that.
Right. So Valve were looking at releasing this themselves. That's why they got you to work on it. Was that the plan, or was it like they were going to give them away to developers, or what was the plan?
I'm not sure on that part actually. I mean, we were kind of talking through it. It never really got to the point where it got cut off before then, and so
right. Okay.
And so that's fine. They decided not to move forward with it, and I was like, well, I think this stuff could be useful to the community, and they're like, yeah, we think so too.
So you ask them just like Jerry did.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't put it on the same level at all.
Right.
But,
okay. Yeah.
But there's some videos where there's some LEDs underneath the front visor of the new Index, and
that's your board. So you've got two products at the moment. One is a fancy LED matrix board, which goes under the visor. So it's a bit of a wankery attachment, that the person watching you play VR can see all these fancy LED
right,
buttons.
and it's meant to just kind of be a showcasey kind of thing.
Right.
And I should say all this stuff is based on CircuitPython and Adafruit too, so like it's not like I invented anything from scratch. I was mostly refactoring and stuff like that. Of course, we love Adafruit and their stuff, mostly because I was like, I wanted to have CircuitPython available for people, so it's just as easy for people using it. And so so yeah, basically refactored a lot of Adafruit stuff, but then also made it extensible with this researcher board so that it's not the LED one, but then the other one, to make it easier for people to basically interact with sensors. So put on basically every sensor interface I could find, Quick and Feather and Grove sensors and what's the last one? Oh, Click rather. Click is the microbus.
Light.
Yeah.
Cool.
So just trying to make it easier for researchers. That was kind of the main thing, and I really like that. I really like that idea a lot.
So you've got a website. We haven't mentioned the company name at the start. Reality Instruments.
Yeah, that's right.
Which we were talking about this before the show. I can't believe somebody hadn't already taken that name, Reality Instruments. And you got realityinstruments.com. Like last night, you just decided to do this.
Actually, this morning.
And then this morning, you decided to do Reality Instruments. And now you've got a website up, and you're taking pre-orders for, expressions of interest or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's just an email list at this point.
Yeah, not taking money. Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Right.
And so, just basically seeing if there's going to be a run, but I'm going to release all the files and stuff like that too.
Oh, I was going to say, I assume it's open.
Yeah, I mean, it came from Adafruit stuff, so of course I'm going to keep it open.
You don't actually mention that on there, though. That's
all. I should, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it will be by the time this posts. How about that?
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That is. So basically, it was basically just trying to get some more toys into the hands of people that can afford very expensive toys. Because the new Valve Index, it looks very impressive, but it's $1,000. So
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah.
Serious hardware. Yeah.
yeah, and then like that's before you even have the computer too. Like so,
Oh,
like
wow.
I'm not
so you need a computer to go with it? You can't use it on your regular computer?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, you've got to use the Valve gaming console, do you?
No, I don't think you have to use their computer, but you do need like a really high powered. Like you think about the amount of data you're sending
Right, okay.
to these things. It's just like super
How does
amounts
it
of-
actually connect? Is it like a USB-C thing, or how are
Yes, USB-C.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Got
So
it.
that's got like the. I don't think it's Thunderbolt, but it's like pretty high data rate.
Yep.
And so you're.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the amount of data you're squeezing over a cable.
Oh, yeah, no, it's enormous. So
it's
they're
bananas.
maxing out USB-C. So there'd be two cables going to this? There'd be USB-C and power. Or do they power it from the USB-C?
I think it's just the one cable. Yeah.
Okay, so power
I
it
should
from
say
the
I've never
USB-C.
actually held one of these in my hands too.
Okay, right.
I was on the periphery, but you know.
So you were designing things for stuff you'd never seen.
I was designing things for 3D models that I had seen. So
Right, okay.
yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience for sure, and they were great to work with. So, yeah, I don't know. I
Terrific.
hope it's. I don't know how much stuff I'll be doing. Like I don't know if I'll be doing augmented or virtual reality instruments in the future. But
Yep.
like you said, it's kind of amazing that name is open. So kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about this before the show, names, right? And how you originally wanted to call it what, Instrument VR or VR
Instrumented VR, and you rightfully
Instrumented
said
VR.
that's
Yes.
not a good name.
Yes, you should not. For those out there, for those young players, try not to incorporate the technology, or what's the word, the technology thing into your
Yeah.
name, if
Yeah.
possible. Keep it like a neutral kind of name. So
Right.
yeah, because that would have like instrumented VR as like, okay, well, you're a VR company,
Right, exactly.
Whereas reality instruments could be anything.
Right.
Right, it's great, and that's what you want. And you use the example of parts.io.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think
Your
that I called
former
it out
employer.
specifically because having a .com or a .io or whatever in like the actual
In
brand.
the actual product name, because they
Yeah.
can't call themselves Parts,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's not, the name of the company's not Parts, and the
Right.
website just happens to be parts.io. The name of the company is actually parts.io.
Right,
I mean, geez, talking about putting all your eggs in that.
Well, there's that,
One
but
basket.
I think mine was a little bit more practical too. Like sometimes it just gets really awkward to like say, and like
Right.
certain phrasing around it's really tough. So like if you let's just use a different example of like eevblog.com, right? If you
Right.
had been like welcome to eevblog.com, you
Yes,
say
yeah.
you just say eevblog, right? And it's like
Right,
adding the
exactly.
.com, like pets.com or whatever,
Yes,
like a lot of
that's
those.
right. Yep.
There was no, like, at least EEV blog is distinguishing from otherwise. Pets.com, like you said, if you take off the .com, it's just pets. And
It's
that's,
just pets. It makes
you
no.
can't,
Yeah.
you literally can't trademark that or anything else. And,
Yeah.
and it sounds kind of silly.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
So, so that's just a branding thing.
Yep. Although I made the same mistake, right? My company my company's not EEV blog. I trade. That's sort of like the trading
Sure.
name. My actual proprietary limited name is something more boring, but which nobody ever sees really.
I know what it is.
It's just for tax purposes, right? It's it's just for
it doesn't matter after a certain point.
No, it doesn't matter. It's just for legal. But my brand is EEV blog. My trademarked
right.
brand is EEV blog, and of course I never put any real thought into that. In fact, I originally called it the Electronics Engineering Video Blog, and so I shortened. So when I first did it, I went, well, I can't put that in the title of every video, so I shortened it to EEV blog for and just temporarily while I found a better name. And I put it out there to the community, and the community didn't come up with a better name, so I just ran with EEV. I just sort of, out of sheer complacency of not finding a better name, it just sort of became the EEV blog by de facto standard. And really, that locks me in because it's sort of like blog. What is it like? It incorporates the technology into the name. So I'm, so don't take mine as an example. I still think it's a pretty shitty name to this day. Although I do like it in that it's unique, it's trademarkable, and then the EEV part, then I can, instead of having blog, I can have EEV Discover. I can have EEV Academy. I can have EEV something else.
Right. It's
so the
extensible
brand's
in that
almost EEV instead of, but even then, that stand, if you actually look at the acronym, it's got video in it,
Right.
So it's like, don't.
Yep.
But anyway,
Yeah, naming stuff gets weird. I was talking to someone about branding stuff over the weekend too, and it's just like it's tough, like.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's just like you can pay consultants a lot too, and they're just gonna throw out some potential stuff, and nothing's gonna feel right. Usually, the best thing is to just, like you did, just pick something and go with it. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. Ultimately, it's what you do behind the company that really matters.
Right.
Yeah, it's awkward. It's always.
Well, this actually, it's still on topic, but there's a YouTuber out there called Tim Pool, and does news commentary and stuff like that. And he's got, because this is a real interesting example of protecting your trademark, right? He's got this, he's got a YouTube channel that goes under his own name, right? But he's also got this company that he has like a website for. God, what's the name of it? I'm trying to find it. And
so what is the basis of his business? So basically, he goes over.
It's news. Basically, it's like news, current affairs, so kind of. He does
more generic, but
political commentary. All that.
He's not the British guy that stands in front of Parliament and swears a lot, is he?
No, that's
that guy's great.
Oh, the comedian you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was explaining Brexit in front of
he's
Parliament.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, he does these great monologue skits. Oh, yeah. Absolutely hilarious. Yeah. And anyway, I'm about to get it. And Subverse, right? So he had this company. So it kind of like was almost a made-up word. Anyway, so his company name was called Subverse. And he had a website, and he's been trying to build that Subverse brand for many years. I really had no idea he had that. But anyway.
Sure, right.
So a soft porn company, or who make porn, well, kind of like pornish video games, ones with the big breasted, Anyway, so this gaming company decided to do this Kickstarter, and they called their product Subverse, exactly the same. And of course, and all of a sudden, it did well on Kickstarter. It's getting like $1 million or something. And all of a sudden, he noticed that Google, now when you search Subverse, all it does is pop up with this porn Kickstarter game. So overnight, they basically hijacked his brand that he had been building for years. And he went, well, what the hell do? I can't compete against this porn, this large-ish, gaming company who make this porn stuff. So my brand's forever going to be associated with this, risque video game thing.
Right,
what the hell do I do? And they got away with it because he hadn't trademarked his name, Subverse, in the UK. So they were legally allowed to use it in the UK. And of course, Google doesn't care if you're in the UK or not. Google just indexes it.
Yeah, they just want to know who's most popular, right?
Yeah, they want to know who's most popular. So it literally obliterated him from the search rankings. And he now, well, what do? Do I engage trademark lawyers and fight this? No, that'll cost, $500,000 or something, and you probably won't win anyway. Or even if you do win, it'll be a hollow victory because they would have still have dominated the search results, right? So they're just killing you in the search results, which is a big part of having a brand like that. If people want to, do business with him and they search, who's Subverse, and they pop up with this gaming,
right? Yeah, their spam filters go off, right?
Right? It's like, no, I'm not going to have anything to do with that guy.
Right.
And it's I think he's, and I commented on his video and it got tons of thumbs up and comments and stuff that I think he's going to have to abandon that brand. Sorry, YouTuber stuff. And I think he's going to have to abandon that brand. I think he doesn't really have a choice. I think it's forever ruined.
Fight or run, right? It's almost like that.
Yeah. It's like, and even if he fights and wins, it's still not a win.
Right, exactly.
It's like he's not going to get the search results back maybe in a couple of years, maybe if you force the company to go under. But you got to be careful with branding. Anyway, it reminded me of that, how literally overnight somebody can legally steal your brand. And whether or not it was intentional, we don't really know. But
so me standing up a brand today reminded you of soft porn, is that what I'm hearing?
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's not even porn. It's just like a risque video game.
I don't get those things.
Yeah, right. But anyway, there's a big market for that kind of thing. So you got to be careful actually protecting your brands and
I think that's true.
Stuff like that. Yeah,
that's true.
Like I've had people try and hijack the EEV blog brand. Mm-hmm. Right. I think there was some guy in, I don't know, Romania or something who called it EEV blog something, and it's completely innocent. He wanted, he loved my blog and he wanted to make his own, and he called it EEV blog something else. Not like, I think he just didn't, think about the. I didn't do anything about it because he's got like 2 subscribers or something.
Right.
It's like, but somebody found it somewhere and pointed me to it, and it's like, okay. I'm not in any danger of being suddenly swamped in the search results. So it's like,
watch out, man. That's what they say at first, and then
I know
it's all over.
but you've got to be careful. And even if you trademark it, you can't trade unless you've got very deep pockets. You're not going to trademark it in every country on the planet, right? So there's legally nothing stopping someone trademark in some other country where you haven't defended that trademark.
Yeah, I know, that's
you
crazy.
can't defend that trademark. Yeah. So, anyway, branding. Wow. It's important. Anyway, I like your new brand, Reality
Thanks,
Instruments. Dave. That's like I'm stunned. I'm jealous. I would have just.
I'll sell it to you.
You sell it to me. Okay. Yep. That's really good. I like that. No, I'll just register something that sounds similar and hijack your search results.
There you
Typo.
go.
I'll call it Real Instruments.
Real instead instruments. Of that one might actually already be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man.
That's great. Anyway, well done.
Thanks.
So that's interesting that you had to scramble to capitalize on the with the release of Valve, because you had no idea they were releasing this, right?
Right.
So all of a sudden you went, they've released it.
I heard that the stuff was coming, but yeah.
Right, yeah, but you didn't really know. And then once it did come, you thought,
I was busy. That's the
whoa.
other thing. I was kind of busy.
Yeah, of course.
So, right.
There is a Real Instruments, realinstruments.ca. So there's a California company called Real Instruments.
That's Canadian.
Oh, sorry. What did I say?
You said California.
Yeah, California. Canadian. Yeah.
I make that. I do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Real Instruments. Yeah, there he is. Dennis anyway.
Well, I'll tell you a brand that is available to purchase probably is Unky. Did you see that news story?
Who the hell is what is Unky?
The once hot robotics startup Unky is shutting down after raising more than $200 million.
Right. I think I tweeted that. Yeah, I had never heard of him before, but I thought it was interesting. Was it like a Kickstarter based startup, or was it a?
No, I don't think so. But they basically, the reason I knew about them, actually, Alicia and Chris over at Embedded, they talked about kind of these emotive robots. It's kind of this new, version of sub-brand. Category, sure, that's good. But they're like these like cutesy kind of like emotive robots, and they're
it's a Tamagotchi, or is it
sort of.
All that.
They're meant to interact with the humans, and they're they're kind of cute, and they need some things and that kind of stuff.
Right.
But they raised a buttload of money.
It's like having a real pet,
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like that thing, and I think that this is. I remember seeing some stuff about that in Japan a while ago, but it was kind of more.
Oh, it isn't anything new, so it's it's like 20 years old, but
right. I think it's more the cost had come down enough that the accessibility.
Now it's viable. You can do a lot more.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Right, and anyway, so they were like a leader in that space, that market space, were they? Exactly.
Right.
Did they actually have a product released, or was it still like?
They did. If you look at that little robot that they show on the article, the Cosmo, that is one that's out.
Right.
But I think the thing is, it just wasn't going anywhere. Like, where do you go? Like, what else do you do?
No, it's almost a one product company or a 2-product company, right?
Yeah. I mean, it is cute. I mean, it's meant to be like, accessible too. There's an SDK for the robot and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So it's meant to kind of, be cute and accessible, and you could develop stuff for it. But at the end of the day, I think the most useful robots that are out there are usually, they're still the same thing: single use, big, heavy, and everything else. maybe with some exceptions coming up. There's actually another article on the Reddit as well. Mark Raybert showing off the close to production Spot Mini. I don't know if you saw that one as well.
No, I don't think so.
So basically, it's the Spot Mini was that really, really creepy Boston Dynamics one. It's silent.
Yep. Oh, yes, I know. I did see that. Yeah, I saw the stage presentation. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So it's the one that's silent. It's yellow. It's got it's shorter than the Spot, and then the big dog as well. So remember, we had James Bruton on. He just did the Alpha Dog, so people know that one.
If people don't know and you want to visualize it, it's like a four-legged dog with a sort of like a duck-bill robotic arm head, which is not the head. It doesn't really have a head.
They say it's an arm. Yeah.
They say it's an arm, so it's a headless dog with a big arm that can rotate in axis.
Right, and there was that really creepy video a while back where it was opening the door.
Opening doors, yes, that's where people probably remember
because it looked like the scene in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, when the dinosaurs were getting smart enough to open the doors. Yeah, that's it. That's what freaked people out.
I'm still freaked out, but I mean, like they're actually. So I think the thing is they're starting to actually talk about some of the production, they're starting to talk about some of the use cases, and some of them actually do make some more sense. Like what they're talking about using it for, like oil derricks and stuff like that, and using it out in the field. That could, and I think that oil and gas is probably an industry that could actually afford something like this because I haven't seen a price yet, but I'm guessing it's
I come from that industry. Trust
5
me,
to
they
6
can afford
figures.
it. Yeah, they can afford it.
But like this, I think the cost and the reliability level, like comparing it to like a consumer levels, comparing a consumer level Anki startup to like Boston Dynamics, which is like very reliable.
If you want my opinion, and you're going to get it anyway, Boston Dynamics should not even attempt to go into the consumer market. They should focus on that industrial space for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Where you can pay $50,000, where you can charge $50,000 for one robot and it's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
People go, oh, that's fine. We need a bomb defusal robot. We need a robot that can go onto an oil rig and go into dangerous situations and search and do things with its arm. And there's $50,000 or something. It's nothing.
Right. Yep.
Chump change.
Yeah.
So this company was huge. This Anki company, it was a $200 million venture capital, but they had in 2017 they had $100 million in revenue. Did they sell $100 million worth of these little robots?
I guess.
I presume so. I guess.
Unless they're selling like software or something else there,
Where else did they get revenue from? Anyway, this was a huge company. In 2017, $100 million revenue, and they've gone bust. Does it say how? Have we got a TLDR?
TLDR?
No, TLDR. Too long, didn't read.
No.
Yeah,
I didn't catch that part.
Funding ran out.
I think it's the thing because it was so fast. Oh, here we go. They actually did do. Sorry, they did do a crowdfunding campaign too. Vector, a small home robot.
Right.
So it seems like it was doing some stuff. This is the one I had seen. The Vector was the one I had seen. $100 million is huge.
That's a huge company. How do they lose money? It's just the same way Patreon are going to go bankrupt if they can't, get other sources. How do you lose money?
Yeah, I guess $100 million in revenue is different
because you took too much. Yeah. You took too much, they took too much, Patreon took too much. Tons of companies have taken too much investment capital. Right. And that just destroys them. Even though if you've got $100 million revenue, you can go under BAM like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're not doing something that's going to make, the $1 billion that the investors want, it could be real bad.
The investors want their money back, tenfold, or at least several fold to, actually escape it with their integrity intact, And if they don't see that happening, then you don't get any more money, and overnight you're out of business, literally.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because you can't pay people's wages, so you've got to shut down. You're out of cash.
Yeah. It's rough.
Tough business. Don't take investment money, people.
Okay, I won't.
It looks great at first, Oh yeah, look, I got a $50 million company, and then it all just falls tits up.
Well, I mean, I always refer people back to the documentary, Silicon
Which
Valley.
Which documentary? Oh yes, right. The documentary that is Silicon Valley.
Yes, that's right. I did watch the Elizabeth Holmes, The Blood. I don't know if you watched that documentary.
Oh, has it come out?
It was on Netflix in the States, at least. It's real.
Oh, was it? Okay. We don't get Yeah,
I'm not a
we don't
I'm not a
often
fan
get
of
it
it.
here. I'll have a look.
But
Okay, no, why? What was wrong with it?
they made it way creepier than they needed to. It was very creepy. I found it to be very creepy.
Creepy in what way?
Like how they used her own voice to like voice over a lot of it. It was really.
Oh, okay,
'Cause they
right. So
had-
it wasn't the story was creepy.
It was like
the
well, no, it was just that they used her own words for like it was just I didn't like it.
Really?
Yeah, it's very unsettling.
Oh, that's no.
It's
they
worth
shouldn't have
watching
done
because
that.
I honestly like I know
Right.
I had seen some of the new stuff, but in terms
Wow.
of like hubris in terms of companies, it's by far not the only story out there like that. But it was
Of course.
very extensive. So it is worth watching. It was probably about a half hour too long. It was like an hour and a half. It probably could have been an hour. But like my girlfriend's friend had recommended it to us, and then I was like, well, you can get a lot of this stuff from watching Silicon Valley. Like a lot of it is
of course.
the same kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
got it.
I keep going back. If people haven't watched it, you got to watch it. It's so good. I can't wait for it to come back. Yeah.
Speaking of pets and kickstarting and
Yeah.
all that sort of jazz, the Verge is unreputable as they are. Anyway, they released they did like a special video on. I think I tweeted it or retweeted a comment about it. You can find it that way on Kickstarter projects and how they are risky and how you can lose your money. And
Thanks,
it's like,
Verge.
it's finally getting some coverage. Yeah, thanks for stating the obvious. And one of their examples, actually, one of their triumphant examples was this pet. Mouser with an R instead of Mouser, the component company.
Yeah.
Right? There's another branding thing that you can hijack.
MOUSR.
Typo. Oh, I ended up on
There's no E?
MOUSR.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no E.
Okay.
Yeah. Mouser. And 4 years ago, they did this Kickstarter where they raised a couple $100,000 or something to do this little robot thing, which is designed to keep your cat amused. It's got like a thing in it. It drags it around the floor and the cat chases it. Yeah, it runs away from the cat and all that sort of stuff. And it ultimately took them 4 years before they delivered that.
Oh, but they delivered.
They did deliver.
I think you got to cover that in a positive light. I mean, that's some
I know.
and
that's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. And unfortunately, the doco, it was okay. Like little 5-minute, 8-minute thing. It was it was okay, but it didn't cover the fact that like there's lots of simply impractical and unviable ideas out there.
Oh, sure.
Anyway, we won't cover that again.
Right.
Anyway, that just reminded me 4 years to develop this little robot. And like you said before, like you become a one product company, like where do you go from that?
Yeah, right.
Like, what do you do? I mean, you're called Mouser. Your company's probably called Mouser. It's
right.
built around this one mouse product.
I guess we'll make input devices for a computer now.
Right. Yeah. That's so easy. Your cat can use it.
Right.
And your cat can start using Facebook or something.
Do you have a keyboard cat? Give your cat Mouser.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So there's and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with starting a one product company, but you've just got to realize that.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it comes down to the economic stuff around like so much of it is people who don't know what they're doing. And I will call out so Mr. Brian Benchoff, friend of the show and Hackaday writer, Hackaday writer and troll extraordinaire, one of my favorites. He wrote a great thing about unit cost and economics. It's called on the forum. On the subreddit, it's called "First 500 Pay for the Next 500." Basically, he's talking about the tooling costs for this plastics design he was doing for a badge project, and he's kind of just running through it. And all of his build logs through that have been really good. So I do recommend people check that out as well. Like a lot of the times it's that. It's still that small scale manufacturing thing and getting past those tooling costs. And it's if you don't have if you don't have the some people have just the confidence they're going to get to 10,000, and it's like they're willing to do it. They'll raise money on it. That's whatever. They might even have the POs in hand to do it. And it's like at that point, you fast forward the whole process. I've seen that happen before, where it's like, oh yeah, we're just going to cut a tool. We're going to order 1,000 at a time. We're going to do everything. Yeah. And it's like all of your costs are based on that. But when you don't have that, like Brian's talking about in this article, it's like when you're trying to sell piece by piece, you don't know what the actual expected thing is. Maybe you have a Kickstarter, but even then, like if you don't have it all priced in at the beginning, you could really get yourself screwed. So it's good that Brian's doing this whole thing and making it public. I really like that. So
for sure.
And then there's one other link about badges. It's a Twitter thread, and it's basically someone who's doing real small scale assembly, but it's a really good thread about like what they learned and like kind of all the way through like doing hand assembly for this whole thing. And I think it'll resonate well with people that are listening here for doing small scale electronics type stuff and just kind of lessons they learned and doing a lot of hand assembly with toaster ovens and stuff like that. So it's good stuff.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that about wraps it up.
I think so. I got to go edit a bunch of last week's shows. As weird as that sounds.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you'll be dribbling those out over the next 2 weeks.
That's right. Actually, probably cool. I'm trying to get them all out before this show gets out. That's kind of weird to say, but I want to get everything done. 440.
Really?
We're recording 441 right now. I want to get 440.2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 out before then. So.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Jeez, you're blowing your wad there.
What?
Jeez, I thought I was bad.
What?
I thought I couldn't keep it in my pants, and you're like,
I just want to get. I just want the numbers to be in order, Dave. That's the pure thing. I don't want people to be like, oh, friggin' Tycon still.
I feel the pain.
Yeah.
I know. Yes, as somebody who's numbered all of my episodes, yes, I know the number in pain.
Yeah.
The number in dilemma.
Mm-hmm. So
that's another thing, kiddies. Don't number your content.
Stuff.
You'll go insane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's advantages to it, but you'll probably just you might go insane.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's recap our insanity in 2 more weeks, huh?
Will do.
All right. See ya.
Catch you next time.